Ladies and gentlemen, it's Adrian Bowe from the Adrian Bowe podcast featuring the incredible Troy Malcolm. How are you, sir?
I'm so well, AB. How are you?
Excellent. I'm glad I said ladies and gentlemen, because I tell you, one of my pet hates is when agents do videos or agents are at open houses and they say, hey guys, I just don't. I mean, one, it's politically incorrect which I'm less concerned about. But secondly, I think it can be quite offensive in the sense that you're talking down or patronising people by that terrible terminology of guys. So ladies and gentlemen, you use it at auctions. I use it at auctions. I use it in all my videos. I just think that that's just minimum expectation when it comes to respect and also courtesy. Don't you agree, Troy?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I think I do fall into the trap. Like in a formal environment, always ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
in regards to auctions and the official processes. But I have noticed, AB, and I do catch myself. And I always think of you. I have caught myself at times saying, "Hey, team." Like I think teams the same. Hey, team. Kind of thing.
I've used that a couple of times.
Sometimes guys. Yeah, guys and girls. Like it depends.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the audience. I also think, Adrian, when sometimes you see a familiar face, and we're very lucky, we get to see a lot of people in the industry on a frequent basis. I really disappoint myself sometimes when the throwaway line is, "Hey mate, how are you?" Or "Hey, so nice to see you." When it only takes a moment to create a moment, and remembering someone's name and taking the time to stop and say hello and really have a better conversation with them can sometimes create a moment that people remember many, many, many years into the future. But I always think of you because I know that's a big thing for you. And I always think when I say, "Hey team," I'm like, damn it, Adrian's going to catch on that. Or
team's not so bad. I don't mind team.
It could be better. It could be better. Then the question always comes up is like, well, what do you say? Is it the formality of it? Because there's that line of you want to be approachable, but not too formal. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. I'd love to know our listeners' thoughts because I know our listeners are in the same field as us. Not only are they talking to clients, both buyers, sellers, landlords, tenants, but sometimes they have to present in some of their sales meetings and team meetings and even on stage. We're very lucky that we have, some listeners that have been, present on the ARIC stage and at different events around the country. So I'd love to get their thoughts at the end. Maybe that's a question that we can push out on social media to see what's the right way of saying everyone or hello everyone, right?
Yeah. Look, it might just be our age, Troy. Like we all went to private schools, and it was just, it was definitely drummed into us ad nauseum, ladies and gentlemen, and so it could be an age thing. I don't know, I think best practice. At opens anyway, when people coming up and approaching you at opens, "Hey guys," not great. Even if you're saying, "Hello sir, hello madam, hello, how are you?" Like just I'd really get into the habit of that. But no, anyway, that's not the topic today.
That's not the topic. That's not the topic.
No, but the topic is a question that's come in from various sources: Instagram, Facebook, email, etc., from more than 3 people. So it's a very appropriate topic to talk about, which is energy important in real estate? And we're like, wow, what a terrific topic. It's episode 146. And with energy, is it important? It's everything. It's everything. Without energy, there's nothing. Now, obviously, I'll get your take on this, Troy, but energy is both physical and mental. And, with the mental side of it, it's basically a state, and I heard you guys the other day, yourself, John and Tom.
Story, state, strategy, skills.
Yeah. John was quoting what I often talk about at presentations in terms of story, state, strategy and skills, which is, a bit of alliteration there in terms of, what do you analyze when you're blocked? And definitely energy is a mental state. But also, there's no question that it is physical. Like, I'm 51. My energy is always through the roof, as you know. But I've got to tell you, there's hacks. It doesn't just happen by chance, So I take 32 supplements every single day. I do blood paneling every 3 months. As a result, I found that my testosterone was very low. So I certainly don't abuse it. But I am on the TRT, which is a primotestone. But this is just a natural thing because your body, after a certain age stops making it, and I was definitely below the threshold, so that's helped. But also provide myself with vitamin B12 intramuscular injections, and I also do every 30 days vitamin C high dose intravenously as well. Now that's extreme, right? That sounds extreme. However, that's just what I've found is my sweet spot, because I've got a history of chronic fatigue and glandular fever. So I've really got no choice. And initially I thought it was a curse, but now I see it as a blessing, because I live a life of virtue and I live a life of health and gratitude. And I also find that for me, what works really well, given that history, is to always be that 3 to 5 kilos slightly overweight. That's not going to work for everyone, but for me it does, because if I get unwell or run down, I've always got that buffer. So that's my individual energy and state. Everyone's got their own story of how they work. Troy, what about you?
Listen, Adrian, I don't take any supplements. I'm very conscious of, with my role currently within the McGrath business, and for a long period of time, I travel a lot. I'm very fortunate to go across, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland and work with a lot of our great people. But what I have found is that energy around those circumstances can somewhat be tiresome. You're up at 4 a.m., you're on a 6 a.m. flight, you're back normally returning home if it's a day trip around that 9:30 mark. And then the next day you might be out doing 11 auctions. So for me, it's kind of obvious that energy is everything. I think energy has different levels. For the listeners that are on right now, when we talk about energy, it's not the energy that you think that you have to be 1,000 miles an hour, screaming, yelling, jumping out of your skin. I think over the years, Adrian, and I know that we've discussed it in the past in a lot of private conversations, is controlled energy. Sometimes you can be energized and engaging, but you don't necessarily need to be the person that's everyone's like, whoa, he's got so much energy. So I really am very mindful of what I eat and drink, especially during the week. I think if you like to do any type of exercise is for me primary to everything about me. If I don't exercise, if I miss out on more than 3 days going without exercise, I know that I feel lethargic, I don't feel well. So I definitely do that a lot. I also like to do a mix of exercise. So it's not just one thing, but I actually find, Adrian, if you start the day, and I know that last episode, we spoke about your walking ability at 3 a.m., which just blows my mind. I thought I was earlier getting up at 4 a.m. But the reality is doing that one activity actually sets your day up for success. So I guess for everyone, you need to know what energy you're bringing to the table. As I said, different levels of energy create different circumstances and also different meetings. If you're going into a serious business meeting, you don't want to have open for inspection energy. If you're going to an open inspection, you don't want to have, energy around, that you would go in a normal listing presentation or business meeting. So you've got to know what levels you're at, but you're also got to understand that you are in total control of the outcome of your energy. You've got your own belief system that is there. And now, so some of the hacks, Adrian, that you mentioned, supplements, great if that's for you. It can be listening to different types of music in the lead up to an open for inspection, or in the lead up to a business meeting, in the lead up to a presentation. I know a lot of the time, Adrian, when we've shared the stage at different events, we normally put our headphones in, laugh at each other, because we're both kind of listening to something, whether it be a podcast or a bit of music or a bit of something that can get us in the state that we need to be on stage. Then the final one is measure your energy. So if there's circumstances where you don't actually have to be high energy or engaging energy or just direct energy, you can actually step back and kind of let yourself get into that state where you don't have to exert too much time, energy, focus, and you can kind of chill out. I call it a chill out time. Normally it's taking the dogs for a walk, laying on the lounge, watching Netflix on a Saturday afternoon after the day of auctions. But I think they're type of the things. I think the first thing is identify if you're off track. Like if you don't have energy, if you're feeling lethargic, if you're not sure why, you've got, you're tired all the time, you get 3:30itis. The first step is, I think, Adrian, doing exactly what you have done, which is understand your body, but also understand what you're putting into your body as well. The next one is try and understand what you need to do to be in the right state of energy. Because I get asked that a lot. A lot of people see me on videos or they see me at presentations or in offices, and they're like, God, you can't stay like that all the time. And I'm like, absolutely not. There's no way that I can the level that I would like to have perceived, because it's just not sustainable. And then the final part is, know your downtime. So I think they're kind of my little hacks around energy, but it's such the funny thing is, Adrian, that you'd say real estate is an energy game. And that I kind of have always, maybe it's because I've hung out with you for the best part of 20, 25 years. But I've always seen that as an obvious one. So I know that we received this question quite a lot after last week's episode. But I kind of think if you didn't have energy in this business, in this game, does that impact results? And I guess the answer I always come to is absolutely. We're a people business and we engage with people. So it might be the 1%er that you need to shift to create significant momentum.
Look, I couldn't agree more, Troy. And it's actually involved in every aspect of our industry. So whether you're in a leadership role, whether you're in a listing and selling role, whether you're an associate role, whether you're in property management, front office management, it doesn't matter. That energy, whether it is a frequency and a mental state, or whether it is supporting your body physically to ensure you've got the sustainability and that propensity towards doing deals or serving clients or serving teams, then the energy can be really different, but still receive the same results. So what I mean by that is, yesterday I did a really intense one-on-one with an agent who was struggling. And frankly, I was calm, I was confident, but I still had really high energy. So it wasn't like how we opened up the episode, but it was direct. I did not deviate from eye contact. I did not deviate from the intensity and the veracity of that conversation. And the cut through was incredible. And, that's our currency, as you know, Troy, which is moving the needle, changing people's lives. We love it. Now, the same could be said about an agent at a listing appointment. If you're distracted, if your energy's low, if you're flat, or if you allow the other areas of your life to interrupt that business state, which could be relationships, it could be health, it could be anything, which, no one's got the market cornered with problems in their life. There's 8 billion people in the world. Every single one of them have got problems. So don't flatter yourself to think you've got the market cornered with that. But you've got to learn to compartmentalize, and you've got to learn to tune in, as I call tuning into that business channel, and make sure there's a conduit, as we talked about previously, between sleep mode, rest mode, personal mode, relationship mode, whatever mode it is, into that business mode. Because we do not deserve the business unless we're providing 100% of our commitment and our attention to every buyer, every seller, or every team member that we're dealing with. So when people ask, is energy important? Look, without it, just the industry does not exist. And, it's no surprise 15% of the industry are earning 85% of the outcome. And the 15% club, Troy, as you know, have a high degree of energy, both physically and mentally, yeah?
Yeah. Now, for anyone listening, Adrian, I guess I always think, well, what's the practical takeaway? If you're off track right now, what are some of the things that they can be doing to actually get back on track? I think you hit the nail on the head by saying, listen, you need to understand what your dynamic and your energy is, right? So not everyone's the same. That's the luxury of having 55,000 estate agents throughout Australia and New Zealand currently in the industry. But make you understand what makes you stand out. The second one is know the parameters as well. Like if you're feeling like you're flat, there's probably a reason for that. So take some time, take a moment, listen to some music, go for a swim, whatever that might be for you, to see if that is your bounce back factor. And then the next one, and the final one that I reckon is a great tip, is to trial stuff. To trial different styles of energy. If you've been in this industry for 5 or 6 years and you're getting similar results, the chances are, you're not going to get to the next level, if that's your choice to get to the next level, by doing the same stuff. So what are some of the things that you could change up? Potentially, it might be the way you bring your energy to the table at those different types of meetings that Adrian mentioned. It might be sales meetings. It might be open for inspections. It might be listing presentations. The luxury about this business is that you get to trial it all the time, both in a training environment, but then also out there in the field. because at 45 minutes at an open for inspection or half hour at an open for inspection, if you shift your energy slightly, you might get a different result. So why not trial it? It's only one open for inspection out of many that you're going to be doing throughout the day. So, Adrian, they're the kind of the three things that I reckon. If anyone was listening to this, apart from all the good stuff that you've said, if I was listening, I'd kind of think, right, I'm going to try those 3 things or 4 things and see if that has a difference in my business. And then hopefully the listeners, again, because I know they love us sending us feedback, they'll be able to give us feedback on what's worked or what's not, or any of their energy tips as well, because I know there are a lot of people that tune in that are well equipped to and have been in the industry for probably as long as you have, or maybe as long as I have, and they've got some great results out there in the field. Yeah,
I suppose my practical tips, Troy, as we finish up, to create a fortified and impervious energy system, whether it's physical or mental, would be, number 1, have a morning ritual and include that exercise like you talked about. That's a non-negotiable for me and you. Number 2 is I would have a gratitude journal. Every time you're grateful for something, I would be jotting it down. For me, it's praying and actually being grateful for on a daily basis in terms of prayer. 3, I would do some type of meditation. Now, meditation could literally be the traditional form of meditation, or as you said, it could be on the lounge watching Netflix, because it's actually focusing on one thing, and that is a distraction and a form of actual meditation, which would be great. But finally, physical energy is so important, and getting your blood panel done, at least twice a year. It could be something as simple, you got a vitamin D deficiency, which, by the way, most people in the world do, because, we no longer live close to the equator with our shirts off and get 20 minutes of direct sunlight on our upper torso, which is the required, vitamin D. So that doesn't happen every day. So usually 5,000 international units are required every day. That's very hard to extract from a multivitamin, for example. You'd usually need to get it compounded. So it could be something that, it could be iodine, it could be iron, it could be anything which is just deficiency. So I highly recommend that. And obviously, if you go and see a naturopath or a nutritionist or a dietitian and have a look at what supplementation or foods that you could consume that would avoid you taking supplements, that would be ideal. But I just find, look, if we were living in a blue zone, Troy, in Greece or Italy, and were eating food off the land and didn't have phone calls and radiation and stress and whatever, then sure, supplements may not be needed. I find that it's a great boost to my system, especially with that background of glandular fever. But look, everyone's got to find their own energy state. Everyone's got to be able to tap into that frequency. But no, I think it's been a great topic today, Troy, and I really appreciate your contribution. It was fantastic.
Pleasure. Episode number 146. That's it. The one. We are wrapped, AB. We are going to be back. Again, listeners, next week, 5 stars, make sure you review us, because we actually do really like them and we do read them. But make sure also you keep sending through those questions, because I know that it's part of our process is to know what's happening out there in the field. We get to see a lot of people. We get to interview a lot of people. We get to work with some of the best agents in the country. But we also know there's people out there that don't have that support network, Adrian. So if you've got questions, even if we don't have the answers, we'll find them, or we'll find them. Opinion, right? So absolutely. Thanks for listening. And again, until next week, this is the Adrian Bo podcast featuring Troy Malcolm. See you, listeners.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks, team.